Hey guys, Lance Martin with Coldwell Banker Town & Country, and we are here for our October Market Snapshot. If you've been watching us regularly, you may notice I put the 24 up there. I'm not sure when I did it last year, but again, this in theory is a forecast. So I guess it's time for us to start talking about what we're going to see in 2024. So here we are in October of 2023. So let's jump in and get going here. So again, I am Lance Martin, your host for the day, Coldwell Banker Town & Country, DLD Partners, our corporate name. And don't forget that myself and Drew and Drake, my sons, we are the Martin Group at Coldwell Banker Town & Country. So if you need help with buying, selling, property management, escrow services, we don't do loans, but yeah, if you have a loan question, call us. We'll get you to our teammates. So I guess I'm asking for business. I don't really do that, and then I have friends that go buy a house with somebody else. I'm like, what are you doing here? Same QR code we've been using now for a couple of years. That'll get you to all of the stuff here. If you haven't seen the last episode or so, we've changed the format a little bit, and we have a lot of clickable links. So if you're like, wow, that's interesting, I want to click that link, probably the easiest way to do that is just scan this QR code. It'll take you to all the links, or if you're watching this or you pull it off of Facebook or YouTube, the links are there as well. But anyway, this is the same QR code we use for the market forecast. So this month, we're going to reintroduce our What's in the News series. However, there is so much stuff going on. I could do, a whole hour on each one of these topics. So quite honestly, I'm just going to hit on them and do a quick little 30 to 60 second thing, which will probably leave more questions than answers. But at any rate, here we go. So let's jump into what's going on in the news. So we had a little bit of political drama with Representative Gates and former Speaker McCarthy. I don't generally talk politics at all in these snapshots. Those of you that really know me, I am somewhat of a political junkie, and I certainly have opinions, and I lean, one way or the other. We can probably talk about that later over a beer. However, whether you have strong feelings about this or not, this is bad. This is just bad news. It just makes us look bad. We're very dysfunctional, and I think I've said in prior snapshots, I'm continually disappointed with the leadership that we have on every single level. The fact that these guys can't figure it out, quite honestly, is just embarrassing. Hopefully it'll get figured out. It'll be a non-event, but at the end of the day, we need to get our house in order, literally our house in order. So we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, does it impact what we're doing on the real estate side? Probably not a whole heck of a lot. We'll see if we end up with a shutdown here in 45 days. So anyway, we'll see. By the way, today is October 4th, 2023, if I'm not mistaken. Representative Gates did his thing to vacate the chair yesterday on the 3rd, so we'll see. So we'll timestamp this and we'll see where we go. Again, I brought Chairman Powell back just because if you're in my industry, as much as I want to stop talking about what's going on at the Fed, I just can't stop. So again, my little tagline here is Chairman Powell and the Federal Reserve continue to do their thing, which is obviously monetary policy and interest rates in our world, and appear determined to break the real estate market. And I use the word break intentionally. You'll see that a lot if you follow this sort of stuff. Oh, they want to break the market. They want to break this. They want to break that. Well, again, if you've been watching my stuff, going back over a year and a half ago, Chairman Powell said, I want to reset the market. How does he do that as it relates to real estate? He does that with interest rates. And our market's broken. I mean, how far we need to break it, I don't know, but we're currently broken. So we'll talk more about that. We've been broken for a while, by the way. This is my effort to talk about inflation a little bit and the CPI and again, Fed policy. I've got a few other slides here, but as you see this young lady putting little mini $100 bills into her purse, part of, in relation to real estate, I truly believe the Fed's policy is in an effort to get real estate prices reset pre-COVID to 2019 values, and they thought raising interest rates would do it, not anticipating the inventory challenges that we have had and we will continue to have, which is bolstering values for a bunch of reasons we've talked about previously and a few that we'll talk about today. But whether it's just truly an eye on inflation, the CPI numbers, everything that's associated with it, I mean, it is an effort. I mean, they are truly making an effort to control this, and at least as it relates to real estate, they've failed miserably for the last 18 months. I believe a year ago, when values were going down, and we were seeing some of the effects of that. I think that's what they intended to do, but then come January of 2023, when we started to see all that backfill in values because of our supply and demand issues. So at any rate, inflation is the thing. The CPI, again, Adam forced me to put this slide in. I could go on for a long time about that, but I think a lot of that ties into the next slides and several other things. So at any rate, inflation is still straight on. Depending upon who you're trusting in that regard, it's day to day. One day, oh, everything's going to be great. We're on for a soft landing, and the Fed's done. And then, 24 hours later, oh my gosh, the soft landing is not possible. We're going to crash and burn, and the Fed is not done. And then 24 hours later, it's all over again. So it's quite an interesting time. Generally, I do interest rates at the end of our snapshot. I am going to do interest rates at the end of the snapshot. But since we're talking Fed, I just quickly wanted to throw up this chart to set up a couple other charts. This is a 3-year chart going back to September 2021, showing interest rates at 3. And as you can tell, we are at all-time highs. I don't have it written down. I want to say we're at highest rate since 2001 or 2006. I might be wrong a little bit, but anyway, long time. High rates, depending upon who you are and what you're looking at. This is from, actually, I got ahead of myself. This is from Goldman Sachs. And what Goldman Sachs did, they put out all sorts of forecasts and stuff, and they're respectable. I follow their stuff, and I respect their economists. So there's a whole bunch of data here. What I've circled over here, this is August. So this was put out by Goldman Sachs 2 months ago, maybe a little less than 2 months ago. And what they have here is, I'm looking at this bottom number, 5.9. That's what they were projecting the 30-year fixed mortgage rate to average when we get to basically the end of 2024. So where are we going to be a year from now? 5.9. A lot of people have been saying 5.96, depending upon who you are. And I get excited, and I don't know, to be honest with you guys. If you're looking for me to tell you where interest rates are going to be, I don't know. I look at some people that I trust. Yeah, that makes sense, and that makes sense as to what their logic is. And then sometimes when the number is positive, I go, oh, well, that's nice. That makes me feel good. Positive meaning a little bit lower than where we are right now. But, I have an opinion on it. But, the guys at Goldman Sachs and Chris Thornburg and the economists at NAR and CAR, in theory, these guys are educated and supposed to figure this out. Point being, Goldman Sachs, 60 days ago, said we were going to be at about a 5.9 30-year fixed mortgage rate. And then 2 days ago, they came out, less than 60 days ago, on October 2nd, they came out and said, no, we were wrong, and they revised it up almost a full point to 6.8. There's a lot of volatility going on here. So whatever the folks at Goldman Sachs were seeing, within 2 months, they made a complete 180 basically and said, hey, no, we're not going to be sub 6, we're going to be maybe sub 7. We'll see. There's a lot of other people that are still sticking to their forecast. And then there's a lot of other people just over the last several days that are revising their forecast upward on 30-year fixed mortgage rates. So anyway, I threw that out there. This is a chart that I pulled off Instagram. It's funny. It says it's done by ICE McDash. I might be wrong. I believe the source is Black Knight on this. I'm going to research it. I'll update the chart. But Black Knight's a big data company. I've never even heard of ICE, but the guy who posted this I trust. But the nice part about this, and it probably is not rendering very well on the TV screen or on your phone, but go click on the chart, get the chart, it's in the presentation. If you're trying to put the visual on who's holding mortgages and what interest rates they have in the United States, this is a heck of a visual to put that through. So high interest rates up here, all 8.5%. Lowest interest rates down here are basically 2.5%, high to low. And then the bars over here basically show the percentages of mortgages who have, homeowners who have mortgages in that range. And you just see these gigantic bars, this longest bar over here going way, way, way out here. And that's in 5 million mortgages, or more than that. I don't know what the multiple is there, but it's a lot, I apologize. And it's basically sub 3%. So if you're trying to get, you hear that all the time, oh, there's certain percentages of homes have mortgages under 3 or 4, whatever it happens to be. This is a pretty good visual. And just to kind of put that visual, everything below here is below 5. And everything below here is below 4. This is that inventory that we're so concerned about, that's just locked in. It says, hey, I'm not going to move. I got this great mortgage and I'm not leaving. So you guys can do what you will with it. And there's some dates on here that you kind of color coded. You can take a look at that at your leisure. Just real quick on insurance, if you're having a problem as a homeowner in the state of California getting your homeowner's insurance renewed, First of all, take a deep breath, relax, you're not alone. Call me, I will help you out. But the bottom line is we have an insurance crisis along with everything else going on. The major insurers for a lot of types of insurance, but specifically homeowners insurance, are exiting the state of California for a gazillion reasons. I have some help, have some solutions. You're probably not going to like the price because it's going to be higher, but anyway, if you run into that situation, call me. Don't beat your head along the wall. California Association of Realtors came out 2 weeks ago with their 2024 forecast. It's about 50, 60 slides. It was done by Jordan Levine. He's the chief economist at CAR now. If you want the entire PowerPoint, come back here, click on that link. That link will take you to the entire PowerPoint. You can take a look at the whole thing at your leisure. However, we're going to look at one slide. So to the degree that maybe some of you, and I have a bunch of different audiences here. I'm talking to buyers and sellers, and I'm assuming there's some real estate agents looking at this, and some landlords and some tenants and whoever else you are. So depending upon who you are, this may mean more to you. But specifically, if you are potentially a buyer, or certainly if you are a real estate practitioner like myself who depends upon selling some houses, there's some mixed bag in here, but on balance, it's better news than we would that we maybe have been reporting. So if you're like, gosh, Lance, these things are just so tough. You know, what's going on? I'm like, well, they are what they are. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, the data is the data, and if it's good to you, it's good. If it's not, it's not. But CAR came out, two things that I like. I don't know if they're true, but I like them. So this number I have circled up here is Jordan Levine, CAR chief economist, is predicting, or projecting, I should say, 22.9% more transactions, basically more sales, next year than this year, okay? I hope that's true. I have a hard time getting there. This is statewide, by the way. This is the entire state of California. I hope that's true. I've showed this to Chris Thornburg and a few other people, and Chris specifically was like, you gotta have to show me where you're gonna come up with that number. Chris doesn't see it. I don't really see it either, but he's got some stuff that he's looking at, so he's projecting, almost a 23% increase in sales. Quite honestly, if we had a 10% increase in sales, I'd be happy. Just give us some stability, but 23 would be great. By the way, to put that in perspective, statewide, they're projecting that we're going to finish this year 22% fewer sales than the prior year. And then if you go back to the prior year in 2022, we finished 2022 with 23% fewer sales, which quite honestly is why the tone, or at least my tone, when I talk about stuff, because this is personal to me, this is how I pay my bills. So if you're like, boy, Lance sounds like he got a little edge in his voice when it comes to talking about that. Yeah, I got an edge in my voice because this is tough news. If you're a real estate agent or a broker or owner operator like us, this is tough. But at any rate, positive, 22.9%, and he's also predicting a 6.2% increase in property values in 2024. That number actually makes sense to me, in part because we continue to struggle with our inventory challenges. But wait a minute, Lance, what about these higher interest rates? They're throwing a wet blanket over everything. Yes, I know, but that is trumped, no pun intended, by the low supply of inventory. So this number I can wrap my head around pretty well. So again, if you're concerned as a buyer, you think I want to buy today and the interest rates are tough, but I still want to buy a house, which is frankly my advice to anybody right now. If you know where you want to go and you're buying your house because you need a home, then buy the house. If you can afford it, yeah, the interest rate's horrible and you're going to be paying more, and maybe you play the refi game down the road. But if your thought is, well, wait a minute, values are going to collapse, well, CAR says no, and frankly, NAR says no. So as long as inventory stays where it is, we should be good. Now again, this is 2 weeks old, and CAR's forecast for interest rates in 2024 was at 6, which is almost 2 full points lower than where we are today. They're pretty much the same place Goldman Sachs was back in August, but then Goldman Sachs said, no, that's not right. They're now basically, 6.8, I think was the number that we had on the screen. So we shall see. So if you're interested in that entire forecast from the California Association of Realtors, that backslide, click on the link, or once you go there once, it's all there, guys. Just go to the link tree that we provide, and it's all there. So let's jump into our Southern California market update. We'll start with our prices. So we're going to do the 4 counties together. It's the same thing we did last month. So it seemed to make a little more sense. So I've got 4 red arrows over here to the left. This is our 5-year chart. Orange County is at top, highest price, but also pulled back a little bit in September. Los Angeles County, second blue bar, pulled back a little bit. Oh, Riverside County, green bar, oh, pulled back a little bit, and San Bernardino. So all 4 counties pulled back a very little bit on median sales price in September. Now, not necessarily completely surprising. I mean, this chart's a little rough here, but when you start to see these little pullbacks, you'll always see these little pullbacks, and they generally happen sometimes September, October, November, December, pull back for a little bit for a few months, and then we kind of ride it back up. We shall see. Is that interest rate driven? Seems to me it's got to be. It certainly isn't inventory driven because the inventory is down. So we did see less inventory, which we're going to get to in a minute. But the demand pulled back a little bit, so we had some sellers that said, hey, I'm done. And they reduced my price a little bit, and they did. So we saw median price in all 4 counties pull back ever so slightly. So these are what those numbers on. The number in LA County is 940, Orange County 1,150,000, Riverside 590, and San Bernardino 510. For those of you that are really paying attention, I made a mistake last month. My Orange County number was corrupted. Sorry. So if that, wait a minute, Lance, that number's a little smaller than it was. It is a little smaller because I made a mistake. I included a field, of a category of homes that I don't normally include. So what am I including? These are single family residences, detached, basically homes. We're not doing condos, we're not doing anything else. And I screwed up when I did Orange County, so now it's correct. So that's what we're looking at. If you click here, I'm not going to do it, but if you click on this, it gives you the live charts. You can play with it, and it works throughout the entire month. For those of you that listened and played with me last month, and you said, hey, I'm going to go to October 1st, and I'm going to click on Lance's chart, and I'm going to see what happens, and you did that, all of these numbers are the same except that Orange County. So that Orange County, when I just figured out I made a mistake about 2 hours ago, and I fixed it. So it's now fixed. So anyway, those are your prices. And again, that's a live link. I have this circled up here. We're going to get to this in a minute. So these percentages over here are comparisons from September of 2023 to September of 2022, so 12 months back. LA County's up 3.4, Orange up 7, Riverside County basically flat, San Bernardino basically flat. Those are both positive numbers, 0.06 and 0.1, 1%. But again, these are normal numbers. This is the type of numbers, quite honestly, that I'd love to see is year over year, 1%, 2%, 5%, 7%. Hey, if we had been doing that for the last 2 or 3 years, 4 years, we would be in a different situation right now. That run-up of 20% in 2020 and 20% in 2021, it's unsustainable. We're paying the price, and we're living through it right now. So these basically year-over-year numbers of relatively small single digits are really what we want. This is last year's. This is 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I have 2019 circled, and the reason I have 2019 circled, and relax, I'm going to say something. Some of you aren't going to like it, but I'm going to say it anyway. I am thoroughly convinced that these numbers here is where the Fed and Chairman Powell would like to see our real estate market. I believe they want to reset it, and I believe that their intention with higher interest rates was to slow this thing down. Inflation, cost of living, all of it. And real estate was too hot, too fast, and so we got to pull it back, and even if that means we're going to hurt some people who bought houses in 2020 and 2021, we're going to hurt them, okay? And because the policy hasn't quite done that, that's why I think we're probably in for a significant amount more of this type of pain in relation to our market. So just to kind of put that in perspective, I mean, LA County back in September of 2029 was 683 compared to 490. Lance, are you saying that we're going to see property values down at 683? I don't see how that's possible, to be honest with you, given current inventory levels. I tease Adam periodically. He's our videographer here, helps us out, and we have do we still have a bet that for I think $10,000 in interest rates are going to hit 10%? Our bet was something in that line, and Adam's like, hey, we're going to see 10% mortgage rates, and I'm you're out of your mind. And I got to tell you, man, I don't think we're going to see 10% interest rates, but we're a hell of a lot closer to 10 than we were when we made the bet. So bad things will happen with these higher rates. But this number, I've got this circle, I'm keeping a very close eye on this, but I'm hoping these numbers basically stay somewhat flat for an extended period of time. But we'll see. I do believe the Fed is doing everything they possibly can to make that not happen. In other words, try to depress those property values. Oh, by the way, I made a mistake. I'll fix this. It says this was as of September 6th. All of these charts are as of today, October 4th, 2023. I will go back in and edit that. These are about as fresh as you can possibly get. I did them 2 hours, 3 hours ago. So here's the 15-year chart. If you want to just play with that, click on it, and you can see, just so again, from a pricing standpoint, you can see where we've been price-wise. So even if we were to pull back, no one would like that, but you want to compare to where we've been the last 5, 10, 15 years. There's a lot of running room there. The supply and demand side, this is the 5-year chart on new listings. As you can see, all of the tail ends of the graphs are down, meaning what? It means we had fewer listings in the month of September. Now, I just did a similar presentation in my sales meeting a couple of days ago. There are pockets of our marketplace where this is not true. There are pockets where we actually are seeing more listings. Our office, quite honestly, as a total, Moreno Valley, Redlands, Claremont, Covina, we outperformed the market. I mean, our listings weren't great, but we took more listings in September than we did in August, and that's not what this chart says. So we're either good or lucky in September. I don't know, but this is your 4 counties for the inventory. And again, I'm not going to go through all of these. You can look at these if you're interested. You can go through the slide and take a peek at it, but I will just quickly look at this because it's a little different format than what we've done. So 20% down, 21% down, 24% down, 23% down. So what are those negative numbers? Listings for September 2023 compared to listings of September 2022. The inventory problem. And there it is, a little different than the way we've looked at it previously. This is the 15-year chart, so if you're into that, you can click on it and you can go back and hover over it. It'll tell you everything you ever want to know. But again, just to give you the visual, you come down here and you just focus on this little section here. This is what we've been doing in the last 12 months, which is significantly smaller than what we've basically done for the last 10 to 15 years. This is that little EKG chart that I introduced to you guys for the first time last year. Look at how consistent it is all the way across, all the way across. By the way, you get this little blip here. This is the beginning of COVID. But other than that, it's about as consistent as you could ask for until we get to the last 12 to 18 months. So at any rate, that's clickable if you want. Here's the 5-year chart on pending sales. So what we got the trifecta going on. We've got values have come down a little bit in the 4 counties in September. Listings have come down in the month of September. And pending sales have come down in the month of September. And again, it looks the same, but wow, look at the pending sales. The blue in this chart is LA County, just falling off the chart. Every single one of them just nosedived in September. Rough. I mean, it is rough. Then the bigger challenge is these percentages here, minus 41, minus 42, minus 23, minus 33. Those are all compared to September of last year. I'm going to have to go back and look at my October of last year market snapshot to take a look at what we did in September. I can assure you I was not happy with the September numbers in 2022. So if I wasn't happy with the September numbers in 2022, well, I'm 41%, 42%, 23%, and 33% less happy today. It is just, oh my God. I think after last month's snapshot, or maybe before last month, Adam's like, hey, is it going to be just fun and pie in the sky and the world sucks all over again? I said, hey, dude, it is what it is. This is not fun. This is not pie in the sky. These are really, really brutal numbers for the 4 counties, and they're all super, super consistent. If you're into the 15-year stuff and you're a junkie when it comes to that, come back here. You can click on it. 15 years of stuff, and again, very similar to the other charts. I mean, almost consistent all the way through. You got a couple little variances. 2008, big recession, numbers get a little bit different. But generally speaking, and then, man, just take a look at that. It's just falling off the edge of the planet. I said last month I was going to get rid of my transaction. I just can't find a graphic that's helping me, in effect, say, hey, visually we just have a big transaction problem. I did add this one. We still have a listing and we still have transaction trends that it's continuing, and we step aside so you can see my text there. So yeah, the trend continues, and the trend continues in the wrong direction. And quite honestly, it's October. So November generally isn't going to be any different, and December generally isn't going to be any different, so we're going to have a bumpy little ride. Now, if you're on the selling side and you want to sell, what does this mean for you? It means, hey, if you want to sell during the holidays, there's still plenty of buyers out there, even though our rates are pushing 8%. We'll talk about that in a minute. If you're on the buy side, it's the same story we've had. You're going to have to pay more for your mortgage, and you don't have as much of an inventory to choose from. So, and if you're a real estate person, then, hey, buckle down, go to work, come see me, I'll help you out. Come to Coldwell Banker. Maybe we can help you. Maybe we can help you with your business plan. Our spotlight city is Riverside. I've done this a little bit different. I played with this last month. We're going to try it again today, and we're going to see. Keep in mind with our spotlight cities, once I have these linked and set up, they're going to be available to you guys forever. So if you're like, hey, this is great, I live in Riverside and this information is important to me, then we're going to archive this Riverside. You can keep it. Just go back to our reference material, click on the city of Riverside, and all of these links will be updated in real time, but technically they're updated monthly. So, October refreshes, November refreshes, et cetera, et cetera. So if you come here 2 years from now and you click on this and what's Riverside doing, these charts will be there. This is the part we played with last time. I don't know if it came off very well in the video, but we're going to try it again. So I have 3 little buttons here, probably difficult for you to see on the video. What's Riverside price? What are the listings doing? And what are the sales doing? Okay, so we're going to click in here, look at price first. So here we go. So this is the city of Riverside price. So this is what you guys will be able to do at home. So if I come, well, I got the reading glasses. It's always tough when you're doing these sort of things. So if I come over here, what happened in Riverside? Well, we saw a pullback in the month of September. 620 is where we ended September, and where we started September was 650. So is that a glitch? I don't know. We're going to keep an eye on it. We'll see what happens. But if I don't come back to the city of Riverside next month, and this is your deal, just go to the Riverside chart. It'll be there. It'll be saved. So we saw a pullback this month, which, again, we saw pullbacks in Riverside County, LA, all the counties. So Riverside's part of that. The city of Riverside's no small city. So a $30,000 pullback in 1 month, that's not a small amount. Trying to do the math real quick in my head. But, it is what it is. But where does that put us? That kind of puts us back to where we were at approximately sometime between May and April. We were at 610 in March and 630 in April. So we're at 620. So we kind of backfilled, or I guess we didn't backfill, we backslid a little bit in Riverside, at least for last month. But again, to put this in perspective, here we go. And I did this for a reason. So if we just go back to September of 19, I'm working my way to September of 19, $435,000. Okay? Now, if you remember what I just said a minute ago, and I believe this. I don't think he's going to be able to do it, but I believe that the chairman of the Fed and the Fed is looking to depress real estate values. I don't think they would have any problem if they saw real estate values basically give back all of the gains that we saw in the last 3 years. And I think their interest rates are part of the plan. But that's one hell of a run-up. And quite honestly, when you see this, forget about what the numbers are. I would say this is a reasonably healthy trend for appreciation. From here to here is not. So if, we're paying the price for it. So that's Riverside price. Again, this is one of the dangers of doing this live. It's not quite as pretty as I'd like it to be. This is the listing side. So again, if you're looking at listings in Riverside, and I drag myself all the way over here, it's almost a low for there's only 343 listings in the entire city of Riverside. Riverside's big, okay? Now we had a few less listings going back to May. We had 293, but on this 5-year chart, if you come back here and you go back into 2018, there was almost 1,100 listings. And quite honestly, I can guarantee you, if you went back and looked at a video that I shot in October of 2018, and there was 1,084 listings in the city of Riverside, I would have been saying we have an inventory problem. We don't have enough homes to sell. So even though on this chart that's the peak, don't be under any illusion that that was a healthy number of properties for sale in the city of Riverside either. It's just not. So at any rate, so that's where we are with listings. And then the last little button is our pending sales. So buyers and sellers coming together. And again, this is just me getting my violin out once again. In the entire city of Riverside last month, 132 buyers and sellers came together. Guys, there are real estate offices in the city of in the city of Riverside that have one office that has more than 132 agents in it, okay? Let's just let that hang out there for a little bit. Let's just kind of breathe that in together, shall we? So it's rough, okay? So it's rough. So we shall see what the future holds for us when it comes to that. So that is our spotlight city for this month in Riverside. So next month I'll do another one, then we'll do another one. I know I've said this 6 times, but we're going to continue to maintain those, and we'll give them to you every month. And if you want, in the meantime, you're like, hey Lance, would you please do Temecula? Even if I don't do Temecula as my spotlight city next month, I'll do it in between the meetings. So you guys might start to see some cities kind of populate. Shoot me a text, email me, call me, and I'll do them for you offline. It doesn't take that long to get us going. Okay, so we're going to finish like we always finish. We started kind of with interest rates. We're going to end with interest rates. This is the same chart that I put up on the screen when we started our meeting. And again, we're 20-year highs on the rates. This is from, by the way, going back a slide, the source on this is Optimal Blue. It's the same one that I've been using for the last couple of years. It's an indice of all the mortgage companies out there. This is what most of you got. Well, actually, maybe I should quote the rate before we move on. This is the number we're looking at, basically 7.59. If most of you go to the old Google machine and you say, I'm going to get a $500,000 loan, 20% down, I'm in California, I've got a 750 FICO, you're going to be looking at closer to 8. So a lot of lenders right now that are quoting interest rates 8 and above. It is what it is. Did see some improvement today. Yesterday was a bloodbath. So those are your rates. I'm going to pause here. I mentioned this before. I'm going to say it one more time. And I say this all the time. And yes, I'm a sales guy, but I genuinely mean this, okay? If you are in the market to buy a house, and it's the neighborhood you want, and it's the school district you want, and it's close to grandma or the grandkids or whatever it happens to be, but you just have anxiety with prices and you have anxiety with interest rates, I get all that. But if it's the house you want, buy it, okay? If interest rates go down, you can refi out. If they go up, okay, well, you bought it and you're pretty much locked in. Well, Lance, what if interest rates go up and property values go down? Is that possible? Sure, it's possible. But if interest rates go up and property values go down, well, your payment would be lower than it otherwise would have been. You got to take a look at the whole picture. So, but that's what we do for you. Help us out, or help us out. Help us out. Let us help you out. Reach out to us. We'll run the numbers. We'll be extremely transparent with you. If it works for you, great. And we'll do some worst case scenarios. Lance, what happens if this happens? Well, this is what happened. Oh my gosh, if that happens, I don't want to buy the house. Fine. You know, when you do, we'll talk. So at any rate, right now you're looking at an 8%, give or take. And I'm just going to close with this. We've got some volatility ahead of us. Okay, we've been in about 18 months of some volatility, and quite honestly, we're probably got at least another 18 months ahead of us. So, and I've just put my good news as bad news. One thing you got to remember when it comes to this is our economy on balance is pretty good. Now, depending upon what business you're in or what sector you're in, you're like, Lance, you are crazy because what I'm doing isn't so good, which, by the way, what I'm doing isn't so good. But on balance, the economy is good, okay? That's the problem. When we have good economic news, the Fed doesn't like it. The Fed basically wants to slow the economy down, throws on more of a wet blanket in relation to our world of interest rates. So when you hear good stuff, it's almost bad for real estate. We almost want to hear, oh yeah, there's some people got laid off, and oh yeah, this is happening. Oh, God forbid, oh yeah, there's a problem in the housing market. Honestly, when we start to hear that, they want a recession so bad they can taste it. And you can forget about this soft landing nonsense. They really want to slow this economy down because apparently inflation is worse than everything else we're experiencing. I don't know. What we're experiencing right now feels pretty bad to me. Give me some inflation, but again, I don't want to be Venezuela either. So at any rate, so we've got some volatility ahead of us. I think that's our last slide. hey, guess what? I actually know my presentation. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you made it through to the end of our October 2023 Real Estate Market Snapshot, and we will see you in November.